So let's create a C-sharp program which uses an if statement, or in other words, it makes a decision as we go through the code. And in here, what we have, by default, the author puts in this statement right here, which is a shortcut. I don't know if it's a good thing to do or not, but it's a shortcut that lets us get around typing some code. Normally, in most C-sharp examples, you won't see this, but in this one, all it does is allow you to, and I'm going to put in the proper statement. I'm going to put in system dot console dot write line, if I can spell it, and then something fancy like hello world. Okay. When I run this, I get when I run this, I get hello world. So in Visual Studio, if you're running Visual Studio, Visual Studio comes with something called a .NET framework. And it has all of these packages of code that come with it. And what we can do is that we can access all of those different pieces of code. So there's in the .NET framework, there's a package called System. Inside of System, there's one called Console. And inside of Console, there's a method called WriteLine. So it's like a path to get to WriteLine. Here's the path. You go from System, and then inside of System, you go to Console, and then inside of Console, you'll find WriteLine. And WriteLine will let you display to the screen anything that's between double quotes. And we'll also see where it displays really anything between the parentheses. So when I put in this using system, well, that means I already know that I'm using system, so I don't need to put that in there. So if I run that, and it runs and comes back and gives me hello world. So it's okay. Yeah, I know. Well, let's see if it keeps it. I had this sitting for a while before I started, so it's saying okay. So it came back. And so when I say system.console, it means I don't have to put in system or console. So I'm going to get rid of console. And now I've just got WriteLine. So when I run WriteLine, and I run it, and it still gives me hello.world. So it's a shortcut that means I don't have to type in system.console. Okay, anyway, let's get to the decision. Let's see what it says. Write a program named credit check. So it already loaded that up for me and got me started inside of this class. And the class starts here and ends here. Inside of that, there's a method. It's the main method. It's where your code starts running. For now, we check to see what's inside of main, the main method, and that's where we're going to start, where the program starts running. So it says write this line to the console window or terminal. So it does that. So let's see what our program is supposed to do. Prompts the user to enter a purchase price. Okay, it's going to prompt the user, which means we're going to need a prompt command, probably read line. If the value entered is greater than a credit limit of $8,000, how do I type that in though? You have exceeded the credit limit. Otherwise display approved. Okay, so if you apply for a credit and you apply, or the purchase price is greater than $8,000, then you've exceeded your credit limit, so you don't get to buy it. All right, let's see what that looks like in code. So how about if I'm going to take this line out and replace it with create an integer that's going to be the price. Okay, so that's going to hold the price of the item. So I need a price to say that this is what the amount of the purchase is going to be. And then I need the credit limit. So I'm going to make a variable for that. I'm going to call it limit, and I'm going to set it equal to 8,123,000. Now, I don't want to put in commas or a $sign or anything like that. It won't know what I'm talking about. Okay. And then I'm going to test it. And so I'm going to put in an if statement. And if the price is greater than the limit, then, so if that's true, then I'm going to write line that you've exceeded the credit limit. And since this is going to be picky, I better say exactly that, which is you have exceeded the credit limit. Okay. And I want to I'll put a placeholder in there. A couple ways I could do this. This is probably the easiest. Put a placeholder in there, and computers start counting at the number 0. So 0 means the first one, and so here, and I'm going to put a comma after this, is the first variable I'm going to pick up, and that's going to be price. You've exceeded the credit limit. Well, I better put in what the limit is, because they'll probably want to know what limit they've exceeded. All right. Okay, how about if I hard code for now the price? I'm going to say the price is $5,001. Okay. So you know what would happen if I ran it now? What would it print out? You should try it and see. But on an if statement, what I can do is that I can have a true condition, and I can have a false condition. So if it's true that I've exceeded the credit limit, this greater than sign means greater than the credit limit. If I've done that, then it's going to, if this is true, it's going to print this out. But what if it's false? If it's false, it'll just drop through and end the program. So what I need to do is that I need to put in the second part of my if statement, which is else, and I'm going to press the enter key, and here I'm going to do a right line, oops, and approved. Okay, So it's going to go through one of these. It's either going to go through the true condition or the false condition. All right, let's see what happens here. So when I run this, let's see what happens. It's going to run, it will run, and it says it's approved. And that's because the price was $5,000 and the credit limit was $8,000. Now, if I wanted to make these, if I wanted to say in a real world, I probably wouldn't have these as integers. I'd probably have them as floats or doubles, which means I could put a decimal value on there. But let's see what else. I'm guessing it won't like this. It probably wants a little more than this. I'm going to say the price equals, but now I'm not going to hard code it. I'm going to wait for input from readline. And readline will take the input, but it's not going to like this. Here's why. If I put in readline by itself, what it's going to do is that it's going to read in, it's going to stop and allow me to type in a value, but that value, let me see if it will do this. Cannot implicitly convert type string to integer. So it's saying that I cannot, when I type something in, even if I type in 9,000 or 20,000 or any number, it won't on its own convert that into a number. It's a string. So I could type in Mike or Larry or whatever I wanted to in there. And whatever I type in there, it's not going to convert it into a number unless I tell it to explicitly. And here's how I say convert whatever's been typed in to integer, I've got a lot of choices, integer 32. Okay, so let's try this. And it's sitting there waiting for me to, didn't give me any prompts. I need to put that in too. So let's put in 9,000 or 90,001. You have exceeded the credit limit, and I should say which is $8,000. Okay. Okay, so first to fix this, let's put in a prompt. And I'm going to do the right line thing and say something like enter a price. And then I'll put a space right here and then I'll end this. Okay, now let's try this. Try this. And now it gives me, and then I'll try this. And now it gives me the prompt which says enter a price. You know what? Instead of right line, how about if I put in right? And that way it will put this right here. So let's run this again. So now when I run it again, it puts the price right here, and now I can type in the price, which is $800. And it says approved. All right. Now, let me run some checks on this and see if okay. Credit limit checked correctly. Submit at 100%. So apparently I like this. So this is the long version of an explanation of just a few lines of code, but it's a good start to showing making decisions using an if statement. And I'm going to end it right there.